Dr. James Lyons-Weiler.
So, I put a lot of thought into what to share with you today, and I'm not going to bore you with the immunogenicity of epitopes in the spike protein, all right? But I am instead going to tell you that we have recorded and are on top of and are acting on each and every crime that has occurred since they first announced COVID. I want you to pay attention because these are important crimes. You heard one that was mentioned just now by the good doctor. The fact that they were diagnosing people with a PCR that was positive as a COVID case is a crime.
Yes. Yeah.
The reason why it is a crime is because they understood the inaccuracy of the test as a diagnostic. And they acted as if they didn't know.
Yeah.
They have condemned over 700,000 Americans to a fate of differential diagnosis and a path toward treatment that led to hospitalization and ventilation and their death, while in reality denying them access to early effective treatments that they knew. The denial of early effective treatments is a crime. The way that we're approaching these and other crimes is through a grand jury investigation that is going forward in Oregon, and I'm part of that team. We have 2 senators and we have a lawyer who signed on. The people of the United States of America will have justice. I'm so certain that we will hold those who did this accountable, that in my new blog, my new blog called Popular Rationalism, it's on Substack, I have informed those in charge, including Anthony Fauci, Francis Collins, and others like him, and their underlings, to get ready and make preparations for their defense. That article was sent by a man named Steve Kirsch. Steve Kirsch, a serial entrepreneur, who showed the data that showed that the spike protein in the envelope in the vaccine accumulates in the ovaries of women. A point that has not yet been addressed by these criminals. He sent it to Janet Woodcock of the FDA. She acknowledged that she has read it. We are reaching them, and I am under their skin.
Yeah.
Now, if any of you want to have coffee with me, I love coffee. That's not a quid pro quo. But I will never have coffee with these criminals. I'm one of the nicest guys you could ever want to meet. I'm everyone's best friend. I'm like the guy next door. Okay? But when you put children in harm's way, when you put pregnant women in harm's way, when you put the elderly in harm's way, and they are absolutely defenseless with the knowledge to even pronounce the words to defend themselves, you can count on me, I'll be there. I run a journal, Science, Public Health, Policy, and Law, where I'm the editor-in-chief. We published one of the first studies that showed, number one, yes, the CDC was overcounting numbers of cases of COVID-19. Yes, the CDC was overcounting the number of deaths from COVID-19. Mainstream media, including the so-called fact checkers and USA Today, said Dr. Lyons-Weiler's institute, IPAC, was spreading misinformation. Real Politics and factcheck.org said Dr. James Lyons-Weiler and IPAC were spreading misinformation. Like I said, I'm a nice guy, so when they made mistakes, I sent them the mistakes that they made. They updated their websites and never told the public that they had misinformation. They don't understand what they're doing. They really don't understand. They are not complicit. They are ignorant. They are babes in the woods. They cash their checks from Big Pharma every month.
Yeah.
But they don't understand the consequences of what they're doing. After World War II, when the population of Germany was asked, how did you allow this to happen? They said, we didn't know. They said, we didn't know. They may have been in denial, but I'm telling you right now, most of the population in Germany did not live in the population centers where the concentration camps were taking place. All they knew was that they were starving and they were hungry, and that a savior came forward and they put food on the table, and now they had jobs and now they had wealth. They didn't care about the consequences to their fellow Germans because it was all right for them.
Yeah.
And the lesson of COVID-19 to the United States of America is you must care what's happening to your neighbors.
Right.
You must not let them be arrested. You must not let them be taken out of their jobs.
Yep.
Therefore, I'm encouraging every American citizen to boycott any company that has fired anyone over the COVID-19. Boycott, boycott, join me, boycott, boycott, join me, boycott, 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 boycott. It starts here and it starts now. I will not spend a single greenback at any company that has fired anyone over vaccination. And if you do spend money on anyone that is putting these deadly vaccines into people through coercion, then you are part of the problem.
That's what's going on.
You are now complicit, if you hear this message, because the spike protein itself is shown by science to be pathogenic. It inserts itself between the heart cells of healthy people with healthy hearts and causes myocarditis and pericarditis and death. I just saw a report that I hope is not true. This morning I saw a report that showed that the risk of death, the fatality rate of people getting these vaccines increases at what's called a log linear rate with the number of doses that they've had. What do we do about that? In April 2020, I published the first peer-reviewed article that actually analyzed the proteins in the virus and said these are the parts of these proteins that will make people sick through a process called pathogenic priming. That article has had 160,000 views and reads. So everyone knows there's an autoimmune component to COVID-19. The people that are learning about the autoimmune risk through this vaccine are the new vaccine risk-aware Americans. Let's do this following experiment without coercion. You don't have to participate if you don't want to. But do you, if any of you or anyone in your family has an autoimmune disease of any kind, rheumatoid arthritis, asthma, etc., raise your hand. Raise your hand if anyone in your family has an autoimmune. Okay, look at the percentages of the hands around this room. You're here because you have a genetic risk of autoimmunity, and the vaccines activate that risk. That signal came through the vaxxed versus unvaxxed study that I did with Dr. Paul Thomas's data from Oregon in spades. It was a huge signal. The difference between the risk of having to go to the doctor for sicknesses that are related to autoimmune diseases, if you have prior autoimmunity in your family, versus if you don't, due to vaccines, is huge. It's through the roof. The way that we get out of this is action. It's not waiting for someone else. It's you. You are the solution. Each and every person that knows that the vaccine will kill another American today, that will kill other people around the world today, and that the denial of early treatment, as has been shown by an abundance, a mountain of science, it is your responsibility to humanity to act on that now. It is your responsibility. I can't do it alone. Steve Kirsch can't do it alone. Peter McCullough can't do it alone. Pierre Corey can't do it alone. We're all working together to bring reality-based medicine forward. Ethical allopathy, ethical medicine, Those of you that have left medicine, go create the new ethical medicine. And leave the people who create unethical medicine with their brick and mortar and their high-paid CEOs and leave them to their own devices. Let them infect and inject the people that are working with them with a spike protein-based vaccine. Let them continue to injure themselves. Good luck with their vaccines. We're over here creating a new world. I just learned today that Michigan's going to be shipping in nurses from overseas to fill in for the nurses that are leaving because they don't want the vaccine. What is wrong with the people that are enacting these policies when their own medical professionals are leaving? When their own medical professionals say, I don't want the vaccine, can they not read the writing on the wall that when they bring those people in from overseas, they're going to have to pay to ship the body home? Yeah. Can they not understand that? They better vaccinate them first before they bring them here. Because those people's families from overseas, well, guess what? They're going to want their loved ones home. Endless boosters will kill an untold number of American citizens and people around the world. Pathogenic priming, the act of willingly exposing humans or animals to proteins and parts of proteins that are not safe because they enjoin the body to attack itself through autoimmunity on the second exposure, either infection or future injections, needs to be banned. Pathogenic priming itself, we need to get control of our government and we need to pass laws that says, you want vaccines, fine, but you have to pass a certain level of scrutiny, scientific scrutiny, that says that you are not putting unsafe peptides into people. That's right. We have to also get rid of aluminum from vaccines. I have three peer-reviewed publications that show, combined, that the pediatric dose limit of aluminum has never been addressed by FDA. So we determine what that pediatric dose limit must be, and then we determine, comparing 3 different vaccine schedules, that under CDC's current pediatric vaccine schedule, infants in the United States in the first year of life are in aluminum toxicity 100% of their days in the first year of life. Not just some of them, all of them. Their kidneys don't develop fully until they're 2 years old. How can they detoxify when they don't have properly formed kidneys? On top of that, we also have a subset of families and people who cannot tolerate aluminum as well as others. They are prone to autoimmunity through genetics and environmental exposures. Allopathy has had a heyday of profit from autoimmunity, a heyday of profit from chronic illness. And I'm here to tell you, your time is up. Yes. Pack your bags. Yes. Go home. The last thing that I want to say is with a heart full of love and gratitude for Michigan for Vaccine Choice for being so welcome to me to relocate to Michigan, to be part of this greater Michigan family. But I want to tell you this. I also carry in my heart the awareness that I once was an extremely pro-vaccination person. As a scientist, I knew nothing about vaccines. As a biomedical researcher, I knew nothing about vaccines. So I confess to you that in my ignorance, I tried to convince my sister she had to vaccinate all of her 10 born-again Christian children. And I'm just really glad that my older sister didn't listen to her little brother. But I'm also very sad because there were some hard years between us because of family stress over this issue. And I want everyone to go home full of hope, not hatred for the people who don't know better. The people that are vaccinating out of fear, I don't want COVID, send them to the early treatment websites, c19early.com. Send them to the studies and make them show their doctors, show your doctor this. We have to educate the doctors that the science is not what Anthony Fauci says it is. That short little guy just needs to go home. So he's been at this for some time. And I've been spending some of my time late at night editing Robert F. Kennedy's book that's coming out. It's The Real Anthony Fauci. And I want you to go home with hope in your heart. Because when America wakes up to what allopathy's been doing under the control of public health, we're going to want to fire both of those masters, but they're going to want new health care. And so you need to be there for them. You need to lend a listening ear and an open heart. Listen more than speak. Let them tell you what's happening to them. Don't tell them I tried to tell you so. Let them discover the way that you had to discover, the hard way if necessary. But love them through that process, because I foresee a very bright future where ethical medicine will be bringing forth the healthiest generation again, where we'll see an extension of the lifespan again, where our children will be among the smartest in the world again. We won't have to dumb down our tests. UCLA is being sued right now because they wouldn't give easier tests to African American students. That's ridiculous. What a loss of confidence in the population of blacks and browns in this country to learn, wait a minute, UCLA is being, they should have dumbed it down for us? Are you kidding me? No, there's environmental exposures that can't be handled as well as some populations. The concentration of African Americans and blacks in cities exposes them to the lead even now today from the exhaust of all of that lead gasoline. And in Detroit, there is an absolute concentration of lead in the soil and lead in the water. And these environmental toxins interact. We have aluminum, which is known to interact with lead. They both affect IQ points. And yet we're injecting aluminum into people? Come on! So go home with hope. Go home with the expectation that you're going to be accepted by tens and 20s and hundreds of people that before spurned you, because you carried the light of truth. I thank you.